kill this brother. And anyone else who gets in my way.
Okay, so here is our fourth podcast of the Fast and the Furious series that we've been doing. This is a spoiler alert, number 4. And anyway, so we just watched Fast and Furious.
Wait, is that the first one?
Yeah, well, no. So they pretty much just took the thes out of the Fast and the Furious. You take both of those thes out, and all of a sudden that means it's the fourth one. So,
oh, right, yeah. That should have made sense to me.
Yeah, so that's what happened. They were like, what should we call this? Should we call it Fast and Furious 4? And they're like, fuck it, let's just call it Fast and Furious. And that is like, I guess, sort of appropriate because this whole film is like a whole new thing. Like it's like the first one in the series that I care about. Now I like the very first film a lot, and the second film is complete trash. The third film I also like a lot, and actually in comparison, I think that the third film is probably still better than this film. But this film is the start of where the story where the series of Fast and Furious really gets its traction. This is the beginning of something.
Okay.
So that's kind of everything in a nutshell for me, but there's a lot more to talk about. But Wes, what are your thoughts?
Well, considering I haven't watched the fifth and the sixth movie, that whole beginning of something is lost on me right now.
Okay.
It's just kind of its own thing.
Okay,
right
well, don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about it. Just what are your thoughts on this movie?
I liked it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I did like it. The main thing for me was it was really hard hitting with all the action scenes. Like it just kept the action coming over and over. There were no real slow moments. It seemed like.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on that? Was that good or bad in your opinion? How did that feel?
That was good. It kept me interested the whole time.
How do you feel it compares to the previous film so far?
A lot better than the first one.
A lot better than the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So.
All right.
Because there were no moments where I hated it.
Yeah. Okay.
Miles better than the second one.
Okay, obviously.
And yeah, so far the third one is still my favorite, actually.
Okay, keep talking. I'm gonna get this thing that you might be hearing in the background off the burner and get myself a cup of tea.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. The main thing about this one for me was Vin Diesel was a lot better. That was really the main thing. Oh well, and also actually Paul Walker was did a much better job.
Right.
He was still kind of stiff, but yeah, he seemed more natural in the part to me. Oh yeah, and Han. So apparently this movie takes place before the third movie.
Yeah. What do you think of that? How was that for? Now you only saw him in the very first part.
Yeah. That was the thing that actually disappointed me was like I was like, all right, Han is back. He's alive. And then there was that amazing first action scene where they're jacking the gasoline from that truck.
Right. Now,
and then it was like, oh, I hear they're doing some crazy stuff in Tokyo. Bye. And I was disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so basically, this film is like dipping its toes in something that it's gonna eventually this. Here's the thing. I am so excited about Fast 5, but it's hard to talk about almost anything about this film because this is just the beginning. Like, and they got their traction with this one. Like, this is where they're finding themselves. Now, an interesting thing about this film is that is that it looks like to me what happened was everyone saw Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, hold on. I keep moving. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So sorry, it's just adjusting the microphone a little bit more, people. All right, so now they got basically it looked to me like everyone saw the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift and were like, hey, this is great, right? So the guy, now I guess the guy that did the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift was interested in maybe doing one with Vin Diesel, and with the actual whole crew, because this film is by the same director as Tokyo Drift, and it's also by the same writer. So it's like, and that's going to stay the same for Fast 5 and Fast 6.
Okay.
So this guy, Justin Lin, I think is his name. He's the director of Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast 6.
Okay.
And this is when he gets his chance to do his version, or, well, him and Chris Morgan. Chris Morgan's the writer of these movies, too. Justin Lin's the director. And this is when he gets his chance to do his basic version of Fast and Furious, but with the original cast. Now, that's exciting to me, and just based on this movie, it's a little bit they're stretching their budget. I think they had some, maybe they didn't have quite the budget that the next films will have. There are some amazing sequences. Actually, I think the first half of this film is brilliant. The second half gets a little bit. I don't know what happened, but basically, it somehow lacks maybe a little bit after the first half. It's that first street race that's the big climactic moment that ends up giving it that ends up being pretty awesome. And then
you're talking about the one where,
and that was halfway through the film.
Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are competing for the same spot.
Yeah, that was halfway through the film. So that was basically that was my favorite part of the movie, actually, was when they did that street race. What was your favorite part?
Oh, my favorite part.
So
yeah, it would probably have to be the very first heist scene.
Okay,
would have to be my favorite. But they did a great job of, I think, keeping the action coming all the way through.
Okay.
I mean, the last half slowed down some, but that was also where they were getting into the real meat of the story.
Okay. You said the first heist scene, is that what you said?
Yeah, the first heist.
Oh, the first heist scene. Yeah, the first heist scene was excellent. And it was badass. That action sequence was well done. This guy can fucking do those action sequences. That's the greatest thing about this film and the next films to come, is that the action sequences are so well directed. And although they're getting to a more cheesy place with the characters, I felt, even though the first film is really lacking in a lot of ways, there's moments that are more genuine in the first film than any moments in any of the later films. At least with Vin Diesel, and Paul Walker at least learned how to act a little bit, or they're just doing a better job of directing him, because in Fast and Furious, in this one, Paul Walker finally is not annoying. He's basically, you can still see him maybe struggling to act, but he looks more natural in this movie than he has in any of the previous movies. So
yeah,
this is, yeah. So
here's one thing that's weird. Why the hell did they reinstate him as a cop?
I don't know.
I mean, he goes undercover.
Yeah.
He completely flips.
Yeah.
He becomes an illegal street racer.
Right.
And then, hey, let's give him another shot.
Well, he did so well in the end of the second movie. He jumped that car onto the boat. I mean, that was that.
So they were impressed by his Dukes of Hazzard stunt.
Yeah, I'd give him.
So they said, well,
yeah,
let's give him another chance as a cop.
Yeah, he deserves a badge. That's what a cop would do, right? I don't know. A cop would get the bad guy at the end. So he got the bad guy at the end. He even stole a bunch of money with that guy. Like, remember
Yeah,
that they
they were like, "Oh, let's start a garage together," and then
they bagged the bad guy. They basically ended up like starting a garage together. Is that what he did with the guy?
that's what he said at the end.
Oh,
He-
right.
He said, "Oh,
Right.
let's start a garage together,"
Right,
and then he
right.
said,
But
"Well,
what
where
they-
will we get the money?
Yeah.
Your pockets aren't empty." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Ha, I stole money."
Yeah, hey, bruh. Like I kept saying bruh throughout the whole Too Fast, Too Furious movie.
Yeah.
Bruh, what's up, bruh? And like, so, like, yeah, and then, yeah, my pockets ain't empty. They lift up their shirt. They're actually stealing, like, money that's the property that should be, like, you know, like
Evidence
cop money
or
and
whatever.
stuff. Yeah, so Paul Walker gets that. I don't know when he ended up getting back, and especially getting back with the FBI. But,
Yeah.
but like, because he's not just a cop in the beginning of Fast and Furious. He's an
that's
FBI
right.
agent.
That's right. Yeah.
But who gives a fuck? It's way better. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Like the way they introduce these characters is great. The opening sequence for Vin Diesel's character and the whole team ripping off that one oil truck or whatever is awesome. And then when they introduce Paul Walker's character, it's awesome. He's like chasing down some guy like through like
Right.
a
Yeah, I
like
almost forgot about that.
over rooftops and stuff, and he's like, you know, they're looking for this, trying to get leads on this Braga guy, right? And so, you know, the cool thing about this movie is that, you know, it's starting to get into areas that the next movies will completely excel at. But you can tell that maybe the budget was stretched a little bit thin in this one. I think the movie somehow, now this is a little bit nitpicky, given that the movie's pretty old, and I don't know how it looked at the time. I think it looks fine right now, but the movie, this is a very specific part of the movie, but there's two sequences where they were going. There's one sequence where Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are like running drugs for, you know, this Braga guy, and they're bringing drugs across the border, and they use these secret tunnels that are like mines or something, old mines. Anyway, they have like kind of a like Batman-esque like hidden entrance where it's like the front of the mountain like just opens up and lets these cars through, right? And that stuff is just kind of weird because although maybe at the time it looked pretty bad too, I don't know. Basically, I think they did a good job handling it, but all I feel is the budget being like somehow too cheap or something, because basically the when they go through those tunnels, it's all of a sudden a video game. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I know these movies I know even what I love about these movies is that they're stupid dumb, right? And like the action sequences are fucking unbelievable. But even that looked a little too, it took me out of the moment a little too much, because everything is so obviously, everything is CG. It's like all of a sudden you're watching a cartoon right then, like where
Right.
they're going through the tunnels.
I did notice that.
And you know, that's very key in certain parts. That's a very key part in the second half of the film, and it's two parts in the second half of the film: the very climactic part at the end, and the part where they're running the drugs. That there's another part at the end of the film where spoiler alert, they're not running drugs across the border. They're fucking running Braga across the border, because they abduct Braga and get him, like try to bring him back to America to put him in jail. But you know, I think maybe the best thing about this movie is like they hit all the characters pretty well, even though they like the character development is all done pretty well. We actually care for the characters, even though it's all pretty cheesy, but that's what I love about it. I mean, it's not going to get any. It's going to stay about that level of cheesy, or get even cheesier the further this franchise goes. But I also like that Vin Diesel isn't really playing a real guy anymore. He's now just playing Vin Diesel. He's playing the action hero, where he's just subdued. He's almost playing Riddick, like. And he's, you know, he's much more serious. Obviously, the crux of the story is Letty dying, and that's another thing about this film. That's what. Okay, what are you gonna say?
That was one thing I was gonna bring up. Is like, oh yeah, Letty's gonna become. You were telling me Letty's gonna become a really good character, and then I'm like, wait, she fucking died?
Okay, you remember me saying that? Okay,
yeah.
So basically, yeah, I know, Letty dies in this film, and. You know, actually, this film is interesting in that I think it's maybe the later films that like represent like women a little bit better, but like this one definitely didn't. This one falls on a lot of tropes. This one has, first of all, Letty, the strongest female character from the first film, just getting fridged, and that fridge idea is like basically like in a comic book a long time ago, like there was a superhero's girlfriend that got stuffed, like killed and stuffed in a fridge, and that was like the superhero's like reason for character growth, and it was
Right,
like so it's a female character just for the reason of like the
damsel
male.
in distress idea, but
But more of it,
she's dead and it's revenge.
It's
for that.
exactly. And then there's other female characters that are now the best female character in this movie, I think, is the sister of Vin Diesel. Even though she is a love interest for Paul Walker, she's like she's not only there to be a love interest for Paul Walker, she's also gets to be a sibling to the Vin Diesel character.
Right. Yeah, and they call he gets shot in the shoulder or something.
Yeah.
They call her to fix him up because who else can do it except
so she's
they're
a
not
good
going to go to a
character.
hospital, obviously.
And I like that we see her as part of the team, part of the heist running. Is she part of the heist running team at the beginning? No, she's not. Right? Yeah, but we see her as part of the heist team at the end, which is great. And then the other like a female character that we see a lot is the one that is interested, that works for the bad guys, that is romantically interested in Vin Diesel. But Vin Diesel keeps like turning her down and stuff, and like because Vin Diesel's only got eyes for Letty. But that's the reason why that character exists, and that's a little annoying that they like they put this female character in just to be a romantic
it's sort of
interest
like
or temptress for Vin Diesel.
Yeah, she's sort of being like the red herring love interest.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, she's gonna be the love interest. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. So it's like I think it's in the later films. I remember more clearly from Fast 6 that they had some stronger female characters, but the Fast 5 I can't quite remember. It's been too long since I've seen that one. But I remember extremely enjoying Fast 5. Fast 5 might be my favorite in the series. It might be the best one out of all of them. And this one is just the crux of it. This one is the whole reason why it's is the whole setup for something amazing that's coming.
Okay.
And it's great. I mean, how do you feel about the end of this film? Wasn't that badass? Or what? I don't know. That's the coolest. That's one of the coolest parts of this film is the very, very end.
Right. At the end, Vin Diesel just decides, I'm not going to run anymore, blah, blah, blah. And the cops pick him up, and they decide, oh, even though you helped take down Braga, it doesn't fix a lifetime of wrong. And then they give him 25 years to life in prison, and he's being transported to the prison in the bus, whatever.
Yeah, transport vehicle.
The transport bus. And
they're going down a highway.
They're going down a highway, and then these three cars come up on him, and it turns out it's Paul Walker, his sister, and those two guys from the beginning, the two Brazilian guys. I don't know who they are.
Yeah, they're only in the beginning. They're just these two guys that are, I guess, Brazilian that are like always like they're kind of comic relief, like arguing with each other. I don't actually know.
Wait, it was the Dominican Republic they were in.
Okay, yeah.
They probably were from there.
Yeah, but anyway, they're arguing with each other with funny banter. And it's so there's those guys. So basically the team, but led by Paul Walker.
Yeah.
And Vin Diesel's sister.
And then
and Dom's sister.
He sees these cars speeding around the bus, and he smirks, and it's like, oh, they're gonna pull a heist to get him out of prison.
Exactly. They're gonna fucking get it. Like there's a thing on a road. Of course. How do you get him out? Like use the highway heist scene.
Use those weird grappling hooks maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to start off the movie exactly where this one stops, and they're actually going to show us what happens, or if they're going to be like, yeah, we just set him free. It was cool. It set up.
So what else do you think about this film?
It's basically like, Vin Diesel's not out of these movies.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd think, well, he's in prison for life.
Yeah. So there you go. So there's setup for the next movies to come. But so I don't know any other.
Here's one thing that I didn't like. I did not like the guy playing Braga.
Okay. Oh, you didn't like him?
Not really.
Oh man, I loved him.
Really?
Yeah, he's a guy that plays this other character. I love that actor. He's the guy that plays this other character in the movie Miami Vice. He plays Crazy Pig. the crazy pig, the bad guy in Miami Vice as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really
Anyway,
familiar
but
with
I mean, I just
that.
think he's brilliant. I mean, obviously the character maybe isn't as well written as like some of his other characters, but that actor I think can do it.
I was okay with him at the beginning. Like at the beginning, he's basically they don't know who Braga is, and he's on file under some other name, and they think he's kind of an underling of Braga, and then they find out later, oh, it's him. Shit.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I liked the way he was playing the character, but then it was during, I guess it was mainly during the part where they abduct him and they're running away with him.
Think like it's a little
he's just
dumb.
bugging me.
Yeah, well, he was a little dumb too. Like he should have been maybe. I felt they didn't do enough to make it seem like he's being restrained. Like I felt that there'd be more he would be doing to make sure that the fucking bad guys don't get away with that. He doesn't go back to jail. Like he's just sitting in the car next to Paul Walker.
He's just like giggling and going, "Oh, they're gonna be here. You're gonna be lucky if you get 2 miles."
That was a weak moment. At least Paul Walker got to elbow him in the face.
Yeah.
And that was like, okay, finally, maybe he's knocked out at this point, but he needs to be conscious for the part but we got to keep him conscious for the very end scene, which also happens to be a climactic scene that I love, which is where like they get into a wreck. The guy that is actually responsible for shooting Letty is there like with Paul Walker and Braga, the main bad guy, and like is basically Paul Walker and that guy are going to be fighting, but basically then Vin Diesel comes rushing out of the tunnel with Now, some of the stuff that Vin Diesel did in the tunnel was pretty cool. Like at that point, remember where he props he's racing neck and neck with another car before he gets out of the tunnel, and he jumps from one car to the other. He props
because there's a dead end in front of his car that he's gonna wreck.
So he actually wrecks his car and then jumps out of his car into another guy's muscle car, and that was pretty badass. Yeah. And then like right after that, he comes rushing out of the tunnel, and he's got the muscle car like two on the back wheels. He's going so fast, and he just is like rushing right towards this guy that is 100% responsible for Letty's death, and the guy sees Vin Diesel. Tries to like shoot him or something, and then tries to run out of the way. But Paul Walker is there on the ground, crawling out of the floor, the car, his car that's got flipped, and grabs the guy's foot right at the last second, so like he can't run away. And then Vin Diesel smashes the guy between the muscle car he's driving and the car that Paul Walker was driving. And just cuts this dude in half, and it is the baddest ass moment, like one of the baddest ass moments in the movie. Like,
and then he says, "Pussy."
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. So basically, that's one of the things that I like about the movie. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's cool about it. I really think it's actually a huge improvement over all of the movies because. It's the same writer and director as Tokyo Drift. I do think overall Tokyo Drift is still a better film than this one. But this one is still a huge improvement over the first two. And finally they're figuring out what Fast and Furious is. It's not a movie. No longer is Fast and Furious a movie about street racing. Fast and Furious is now just an action movie with cars.
Yeah.
That's the future of Fast and Furious.
Okay.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, you can sort of see it evolve with like the first movie, they're just drag racing. They're just going straight.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, during the first race, you're like, oh shit, they're making a turn.
Yeah.
And it's just they're racing around several streets.
Yeah.
And then in Tokyo Drift, it's
all about they're
drifting. Obviously.
Tokyo Drift is like the Karate Kid, but with cars. It's like it is about it. Tokyo Drift. It's again about racing again. It's very much about racing. But then in this movie, it's just pure action. There is one street race, and it's a great street race. The action they come up with in that film is great. There's little moments. This guy gets very creative. I don't know if it's the director or the writer or both of them together. I guess. They're very creative with the storytelling during the action sequences and during the races. And like there's actually interesting things that happen both in Tokyo Drift and in this one. Interesting things that happen in the races, which are great. Like I watching this movie a second time, there were so many little details that I missed watching it the first time. What like specifically that street race. Just the little moments that Vin Diesel would have with all the other people he was racing against. I like the part where there's one car that's like trying to knock Vin Diesel off the road.
Yeah, he keeps ramming into him.
Right, and Vin Diesel's reaction is, okay, on the third time that he tries to knock me off the road, I'm gonna just boost forward with the pure power of my engine. And so he gets ready for the guy to come, and he just guns it, and the guy, instead of hitting Vin Diesel's car, like just because he's coming at the car like he's gonna hit it, the Vin Diesel's car's no longer there. The guy just goes all the way over the road and like basically flips his car. And like that was a neat moment. And there's lots of little neat moments like that. I love the part where Paul Walker is
that was another thing I was gonna say is when Paul Walker accidentally gets off the course. Yeah, like they have a GPS. Yeah. They have a GPS showing them the course to take, and he just keeps getting knocked off course. And then he starts heading back for the course, and it keeps going recalculating because he's just going past all the turns that it wants him to make because he's trying to get there the fastest route.
Right.
And then he ends up on this road that's parallel to it but kind of above it.
Yeah.
And he can't really get to the road, so he just keeps following next to it.
Yeah.
And then it goes, make U-turn as soon as possible.
And so the road,
are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, the road runs out, so he has to just barrel the car down a big ass hill of grass and trees.
So he just says, "Fuck it, I'm not following this anymore."
And that was funny. That was really funny. Like the whole part about him saying, "Well, you just shut up." Like in this time when I bet we were all getting really like that was when GPS was really starting to get traction.
Right, and it kept people were getting frustrated with recalculating.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a pretty funny part. I mean, basically, this movie is a lot of fun. It gets cheesy, but it actually has some good emotion to it. You know what? Let's talk about some of the. We're talking about the action so much. There's some emotional parts that are really important.
Yeah.
Like
we should get to that, but really quickly, I just want to mention the end of that race where they had the too soon moment.
Yeah. Oh, right. And he says too early, bro. And then Vin Diesel still beats him because Vin Diesel spins out his car like a fucking police cop when Paul Walker.
Yeah,
it's Vin Diesel and Paul Walker at the end, obviously, of this street race in the middle of the movie. And Paul Walker actually gets to press his nitrous second, and he says to Vin Diesel after he presses his nitrous too early instead of too soon. And then he goes he goes past. You think that Paul Walker's gonna win, and then Vin Diesel just like pulls one of those moves that the cop cars do on the road to spin out another car.
He swerves into the very back end of Paul Walker's car.
That was clever.
And since he's going so damn fast, there's nothing. He just spins out of control.
That was a clever moment.
Yeah.
That was a clever moment.
Paul Walker gets all pissed. You can't beat me straight up.
Right.
I didn't know the rules, bro.
And honestly, this movie is just fun to watch. So even if we're spoiling it for you right now and you haven't seen this movie because you just don't have faith in the series or something, like just check this movie out because it's actually a lot of fun, even if you know everything that happens. And so basically, the emotional parts are hit pretty well too. They're very specific and it's basically this movie is about, like, at the character's core, this movie is just about Paul Walker and Vin Diesel coming together and reconciling their differences. Because at the beginning of this film, Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, completely separate. Vin Diesel hates Paul Walker, obviously, because of all the shit he pulled in the first film. And that's cool. That's a good way to start. Eventually, he has even more reason to hate Paul Walker because he finds out that Letty was actually working undercover for the FBI. And that pissed off Vin Diesel even more.
I think he assumes that Paul Walker just picked her up and said, we're going to run. We need you to go undercover for us or we're going to put you in jail or whatever.
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
But as he's beating the shit out of him, Paul Walker finally gets out that Letty was doing it for him. Letty was doing it for Vin Diesel. She came to him. She came to Paul Walker saying and made a deal to clear Vin Diesel's record in exchange for bringing down Braga. So So yeah, and he's like, basically, she did it for you. She just wanted you to come home.
Yeah, and that was
And,
good acting.
yeah.
That was actually all right. It worked. Paul Walker finally seemed like he maybe had some range, and
That was probably the best acting moment for him in this movie.
The moment in that was the best moment in this film, in a sense. Like just like besides the action, the part where the storytelling actually like gets some heft and the emotions actually start to come through. That was one of the most emotional parts.
Well, and Vin Diesel got so fucking angry in that scene too.
Yeah,
It was
and he's doing
ridiculous.
good.
Yeah,
Vin Diesel's doing great. He feels like he's playing this role right, at least right as an action star should play it. You know, and it's good. Vin Diesel has a good presence. He's worked on his presence in films where he feels so much like just this solid rock of badassness, but also he has a way of actually subtly delivering emotion. And he's not an amazing actor, but he really is the most fun actor to watch out of everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, the anger in that scene felt genuine to me. That was probably the most genuine moment that he had. Is that anger was incredibly genuine.
Yeah, it was great. So I mean, the crux, and by the end of the film, Paul Walker ditches the whole cop thing, and
finally,
and it's just like I like the girl, like who said, like the one he was interested Dom's sister said to him at the beginning of the film, maybe you're just the bad guy pretending to be the good guy. And that's kind of the whole idea of the film, is one guy is pretending to be the good guy, not realizing that he should just be someone like that he's more true to heart. The person that he's more like is someone like Dom, in the sense, like, because he likes that lifestyle, and that's more true to him. He just likes the cars. You know,
you can tell in like the moment where they're like, oh, Braga's looking for drivers, of course.
Yeah.
And then he says, Brian, you're up, and he's all, yes.
Yeah.
And he does the fist pump thing or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they're going through all the cars that have been impounded, and he's like, I want this one and this one and this one, and they're like, well, which one do you really want?
Yeah,
all of them.
Yeah, and that was pretty
he
stereotypical.
Frankenstein's the three cars to make one really awesome car.
Yeah, and that was a pretty cool like It was a very cheesy moment. This movie is filled with just really like predictable writing and dialogue and stuff. And so basically, that's what I would say is this film works on all levels. It's not entirely original. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a great action flick, honestly. Although you should watch this one if you're going to watch the rest of the series, I would say, because it's a good starting point. But you ain't seen nothing yet.
I mean, it might be a good idea to see the first one also.
Yeah,
because it really does set up the relationship.
Yeah,
it's like a background story. Skip the second one.
Yeah,
and I mean, probably you can skip Tokyo Drift if you really don't care, but even though that's awesome.
Yeah.
Although it does.
Don't skip Tokyo Drift.
Don't skip that one. Actually, it introduces.
Skip the second one. Skip the fucking second one. That's the only one you got to skip.
All I'm saying is, for the main storyline, it's not really that relevant.
Right.
But definitely see it.
Yeah, there's certain things like I'm trying to refrain from saying certain things because this is a beginning of a storyline, and you're just experiencing these for the first time. So, but right. I really wanted to get your opinion on this film and get your ideas about this film before we move forward, and because it honestly like I remember my initial reaction to this film was that, oh, this is a little bit. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm seeing all the characters from the first movie, but this is actually not quite as good as the movie that came right before, which was Tokyo Drift, and it's not quite as good as. I kind of maybe like the first film a little bit better. I don't know, but I'm really glad that the series finally is finding itself with this film. Like this is where it's gonna go.
I definitely liked Tokyo Drift better. Mm-hmm. I like this one better than the first one, though.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that are better about this film. Honestly, the action sequences alone, even though there aren't very many of them in this film, like at least compared to the next ones, it's fucking cool. Yeah. They're great.
It's just that they're so minimal on the whole street racing scene in this one, which is the part that I really don't like. Is that whole?
You wish there was more street racing?
No, I don't like the whole street racing scene where they show up and all the girls are drinking and dancing.
Well, and if you don't like all that, I get amused by that stuff, and that's one of the things I love about these films. You know, like what about Tokyo Drift,
and
where like
all the ridiculous cars are lined up and the guys are hanging out in front of them being jackasses.
Yeah.
It just annoys me.
Oh, I love that. That's exactly what I love about these films. I mean, of course it annoys me. Like that's why it's fucking stupid. Like that's why these that's why these movies are awesome. Like that's the whole thing.
I don't
like
know.
that's
Like
like
it's not. I like the races. I just don't like the whole intro to the scene.
Okay.
To the street racing scene.
Oh, I like that part of it.
I don't know.
I don't know how much of that exists in the next films, but there's definitely plenty of looking at girls' butts to good music in the next film.
I mean, whatever.
And like that's kind of what those scenes are all about. Like let's show a bunch of girls' butts for no reason next to cars, and then blast some awesome music. And like, what about that's like one of my favorite sequences in the Tokyo Drift movie, where the Bow Wow brings him into the garage for the first time, and you hear that song, and like that's I forget what the fuck.
Keep singing it.
I don't know how it goes. I think it's some girl going like Mr. Honey, and then I think that's it. I don't know, but then
like the song, but I don't know.
And then you see those girls, and like when they get the race going, there's like those two girls that are going ready, seto, and like all that shit is so cool. It's like, and then Bow Wow throws like while in the middle of this scene, like the Bow Wow throws like the fucking like box of tissue paper like in the guy's lap and says, "Oh, what's this for? For when you blow your wad."
Yeah,
because they're just looking at hot chicks everywhere.
There were some funny moments. It's just I don't know.
Those scenes are the best. I love that exists. Like, oh, what about that scene where like in this movie that's so needless, where it's like after the street race, they go to this like club that everyone's hanging out with, and it's like, of course, there's just cars, hot chicks, and that music right outside the club, like. And
yeah,
and it's like they got to find ways to get that scene into all of these films, you know. And I don't know how much it all exists. I remember there's plenty of like sexy bodies and good music in the next films, but I don't know if it's specifically at like street race scenes.
I mean, whatever. I'm fine with it. It's just the street racing scene annoys me. But whatever.
Yeah,
but
that's the point of the film. That's why I love these films.
I enjoyed the fact that it was more downplayed in this one. That's all.
I'm excited.
I don't mind if it's there. Yeah. I like when it's downplayed more. Yeah.
Honestly, I agree with you, and I'm excited now because I like that you like this film the best, because I think I might have liked this film the best too.
Well, I like Tokyo Drift better.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, with the main storyline, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, I actually just said I just earlier said I know that I thought the first film's better. I really don't know which one I like better. They're two completely different things. This one, by the time they get to this one, Chris Morgan, the writer, and Justin Lin, the director, like just kind of reworked the whole thing and set it up for something completely different.
Yeah, and it was like the first one was just like, let's have street races and have awesome cars and show those off. Yeah, and then
anyway, I think we're maybe kind of going a little bit off. Or say what you're gonna say, but I think we should probably like close it down.
Yeah, and then it was it's definitely evolving into a different thing. They're focusing more on the character stories, rather than.
Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely about the action. Yeah, but they are focusing more on the character,
which really helps the action.
Yeah,
and it helps everything. And you know, they're relying on lots of tropes, like a lot of cheesy dialogue, a lot of stuff that's been said a lot of times in a lot of movies, and been done a lot of times in a lot of movies. But it all works. It's all put together very well. So there you go. Anyway, cheesy movie, a lot of fun. And there's way more and they dial up the intensity. It's this, like, just dialed up in the next film and the next films, and it's fucking great. And I'm so excited to watch it and see what you think. All right.
So, yeah, we're gonna continue with Fast 5 next.
Yeah.